He doesn't like to listen, does he?
I'd like to call to order the November 9th, 2023 Columbia Borough Council work session. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilperson Zink.
Here.
Councilperson Kaufman. Councilperson Stahl.
Here.
Councilperson Fisher.
Here.
Councilperson Price. Here. Councilperson Littner.
Here.
Councilperson Garth.
Here.
Mayor Rose.
All right, would anybody like to offer an invocation? If you would like, please rise for a moment of silence. And Sharon, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, announcement of executive and information sessions. There were none. Are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda needed? I'm not aware of anything. No. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Price, to approve the agenda as published. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Citizen comment, non-agenda items. The sign we have is Mary Wickenheiser.
Good evening, Mary Wickenheiser. I think it was a very nice idea not to do leaf pickup and street sweeping on election day. I know borough workers were working that day. And I understand you don't want to give people tickets, okay, on election day. But I have to question in the fall. Jake knows the amount of leaves that are out there. Next Tuesday, he's going to have 2 weeks worth of leaves to pick up. Just a thought. Maybe just do it. Don't ticket people, but don't tell them you're not going to ticket them. Just pretend it's a regular Tuesday, do the job, but just don't ticket. Just something I see while walking, the amount of leaves that are there. And Jake and I were talking about leaves earlier last week, how it looks like they're all coming down at one time. So it's going to be he's going to be busy next Tuesday, these guys are. Another comment, one I've commented on several times before, is the handicap parking space at 610 Chestnut Street. I have yet to see a car parked in that handicap space. The only thing that uses that space is a Red Rose Transit little bus that picks the woman up there. And if somebody is parked in front of either of the adjoining properties, that bus can't get in there. It still has to double park. We have got a space that 24 hours a day, nobody can park in. Those are my comments this evening. Thank you very much.
Mark, could you write that address down?
Yeah, Dick and I talked about it already. We're aware of it. We're in the process of renewals right now.
So we're having Lisa just double check that one and see if it's still needed.
Yeah. Mayor Lutz isn't here. Chief Brommer.
Okay.
Workshop items. The first item we have is a presentation by Big Brothers Big Sisters regarding the Bigs in Blue mentoring program.
Good evening. The police department is continually looking for opportunities to connect with our youth. And about a month ago, we were presented with an opportunity from Big Brothers Big Sisters. I invite Amy Rote, CEO and President, to explain the program. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation, and I appreciate the opportunity for the council to talk about our Bigs and Blue. Bigs and Blue is a national program of Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. We, our affiliate, brought this program locally back in 2016. The intent of the program is to bring together and start to bridge the gap in communications between law enforcement and youth in our community. What we do is we build friendships. That's what we do. Create positive experiences and friendships, specifically with law enforcement and youth. This is a program that takes place only in the school setting. So officers are compatibly paired with a little. They come over lunch or recess or a time that's been designated by the teacher to spend some time, be an active listener, be a positive role model, and build a friend. We started this program with one department in 2016. We currently have 18 police departments and a partnership with the Pennsylvania State Police. And it's leaving us the second largest Bigs and Blue program in the country. People always ask me why and how did we do that? And that is because this region and the law enforcement in this region is very committed to building relationships with their community and their peers. I'm proud to say we've served over 300 kids and volunteers and families in this program. It not only makes an impact with the little, but it builds a community. That Big Brothers Big Sisters has a case manager that is assigned to the match to help the officers with any support, challenges, but it builds a community with the school personnel, the families. We've had a recent media CBS did a great video of a young man that was matched with an officer in 6th grade. They are now still matched as a senior, and that relationship has really helped mold him to the future that he has. It has helped him avoid risk behaviors and stay on the right track. So we're very honored to partner with officers in this manner. We're looking to bring this partnership with the police department here in Columbia and work with the K through 4 elementary students. And we have the support of the school, and we also, I guess, the background, we do all background checks, Child Protective Service law background checks, just like for any other volunteer. And again, we support the matches and help throughout the longevity of their relationship. Do you guys have any questions?
So just a comment. One, I think this is a fantastic idea. I've seen our police officers in action, and I've seen the time they'll stop and talk to someone or invest that little extra energy. I also know that here in Columbia, reaching out to the young people, especially, I don't mean to sound rude, but especially some of those that are struggling and don't have a great home life, that can have someone they can look up to and to have that person that they see, even if they're struggling on how to fit into their society and how to fit into their group, they're going to have someone they begin to build trust with. And I've seen similar programs like this work really well, and I'm just really excited that we're bringing it here, and I think it's going to be a great fit for us.
Thank you so much. I have so many great stories that I could share.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It definitely makes an impact, and I'm looking forward to seeing the impact this department has on the community. So thank you for the investment and supporting our kids. Thanks.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Getting to it, and I think it'll be very beneficial.
You'll have to invite us back in a year so we can share some of this.
Definitely.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks. Next, we have discussion on an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance related to off-premise signs.
Claudia, I apologize. The clicker is, I lost a little toggle for it, so you can just tell me.
Okay, that works. Good evening, I'm Claudia Schenk. I'm an attorney with McNeese, Wallace & Nurick. I'm joined this evening by Devin Wagner, who's the president of Oak Tree Outdoor Advertising. and we are here to discuss a proposal to construct a billboard at 445 Linden Street in the borough. The owner of that property, Don Murphy, is also here this evening. So we have a proposal to construct a billboard on this site. This is formerly the Columbia Borough Visitor Information Center. It is in the HC zoning district in very close proximity to Route 30. You can see Route 30 is at the top of the screen. This is an aerial map up on the screen of the property. The proposed location of the billboard is outlined in red. It would be a V-shaped two-sided billboard. Be 45 feet tall, 672 square feet per face, which is a standard billboard dimension along a highly traveled corridor like Route 30. It would also incorporate some promotional branding for the borough, and the goal is really to create a nice looking billboard that would be sort of a gateway feature into the borough. So if you want to flip to the next slide, Mark. There's one depiction of a possible layout. Obviously, we would have to work through the details, but you can see along the base of the board, we have the Columbia logo and some landscaping, and then obviously the board itself. You could go to the next one as well. This is just from a different angle looking at the board. Only one sign would be visible at a time, so it's designed to be viewed, going both directions on Route 30. Your existing regulations allow billboards in the highway commercial zoning district, but they are limited in terms of the size of the board that can be constructed and the frequency of the message change and a number of other factors. So currently, there's a requirement that billboards be set back at least 25 feet from any lot line or street right-of-way. There's a maximum sign area of 300 square feet, a maximum height of 25 feet, and the message on the board can only change once every 30 seconds. So what we are proposing is an amendment to your ordinance that would change those regulations solely for properties that are located in the HC zoning district and are visible along a limited access highway. So very limited in application in order to allow a board on this site, and frankly, I'm not sure there would be many other opportunities in the borough for a board like this. The requirements would allow a 5-foot minimum setback from all lot lines and street rights of way. Mark, if you could just go back to the first slide. You can see here in this particular piece of property, it's a very small tract, and the right-of-way for Route 30 goes all the way up to that teal line. So it already is set back quite a distance from the highway. Really the developable, buildable area is very small, what's outlined in the dashed white line. So that's the reason that request is being made. It would also increase the area for the board to 672 square feet per side, like we discussed, a maximum height of 45 feet, and there would be a prohibition that it could not be located any nearer than 100 feet to an existing dwelling unit. For boards everywhere else, the requirements would remain the same in the HC district. Again, this would just apply to boards visible from 30. There would also be a change to the frequency of the message change or the dwell time of the board. Again, that's currently 30 seconds. In this limited instance, we are requesting that the message be permitted to change once every 10 seconds. We originally submitted a petition, if you reviewed our original submission and packet to the borough, that requested once every 7 seconds, but we've modified that based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission. In terms of the justifications, with this particular location, we think having a larger board will improve the safety and effectiveness of the board as viewed from the highway. If you're familiar with this property, there is an existing changeable message sign on the property. I think folks have described it as being a little hard to read, maybe at the size that it is. This will be something that's much more legible and reads much more easily, especially from a highly traveled road like Route 30. And then again, it's very limited in applicability. The borough really only has 2 areas that have HC zoning, and it's along Route 30 and along Lancaster Avenue. And this would not apply along Lancaster Avenue because obviously that is not a limited access highway. In terms of the history of this project, we started having informal discussions with staff in the spring of this year regarding the proposal. We submitted a petition to amend the zoning ordinance on July 13th. We made our first presentation to the Borough Planning Commission on August 15th. Ultimately, after a lot of good discussion, the decision was made to table the petition. Planning Commission really wanted an opportunity for the comprehensive plan to be adopted before they made any changes to the ordinance, and to make sure that there was consistency with the new comprehensive plan. So obviously the comprehensive plan was then adopted. We returned on October 17th to the Planning Commission, and at that time they recommended adoption of the ordinance, again with that change in the dwell time of the message from 10 to 7 seconds, or 7 to 10 seconds rather, which we were of course agreeable to. In terms of the comprehensive plan that you have all just adopted, we do view this proposal as being compatible with that plan. This particular area of the borough is identified in the plan as a gateway commercial neighborhood. This also supports some of the bold ideas from the plan. So you have a more feet in the street goal, which is really an economic development prong of your plan that talks specifically about developing more comprehensive signage and focuses on the importance of signage at main gateways into the borough. We think this could be a nice partnership where we would provide a little bit of that gateway feature as part of the design of this sign. It also, of course, again, notes Route 30 as a targeted economic development strategy area, a primary wayfinding location, again, focusing on the entry points from Route 30 into the borough. You also have a telling our story goal, or a marketing and tourism prong of your comprehensive plan that talks about universal branding and promoting that throughout the borough. And again, that would be incorporated into this design. I'm going to have Devin come forward now and talk a little bit about his company and what his proposal is for this location.
Good evening, Devin Wagner from Tree Outdoor. Give you a little background on Tree Outdoor Advertising. We've been in business in the Lancaster market, started 9 years ago. And over that period of time, we've developed out 60 digital billboard faces throughout central Pennsylvania, also in New Jersey. We're part of a family of companies that also includes the Lancaster Barnstormers baseball team, baseball stadium. We also have a social media company, a real estate development company that has done some large-scale development in the Penn State University Hospital off the State Road, in Mount Joy, Richmond Square, off of Fruitville Pike and all. So we're really have been doing business in the Lancaster County market for the past 30 or 40 years and continue to look at this market and utilize the billboards to help support the efforts of our other businesses, the Barnstormers, which is a community hub, and then also to help support local businesses here to let them know about openings, businesses, events, etc. And we look at this site as being really a gateway. Not only is it a gateway to Columbia Borough, but also a gateway to Lancaster County with traffic traveling from west to east. As we kind of build out and deploy other structures and work with other landowners, we try to be able to target all major arteries in and around the community to be able to effectively speak to them. Some of the things that we've done besides just with businesses is be tied into emergency management and the access to the boards to be able to put Amber alerts, and then also whether or not there's other type of alerts that are relevant to safety concerns in the community. And continue to do that with all of our boards throughout the markets that we're in. We're members of the OAAA, which is the Outdoor Advertising Association, that really controls and manages outdoor advertising across the country. We're also part of the PA OAAA, which is the Pennsylvania State organization, and continue to be active with them as far as when new things come down, regulations on controlling elimination of boards, placement of boards, safety and traffic data. That's personnel out there from the Federal Highway Safety Administration, and just really kind of tracking this, being a great platform for our company to grow and help support businesses and communities throughout Lancaster County and beyond.
Maybe you just want to flip briefly to the last screen, just a quick point I want to make. This map is showing the distance from the proposed billboards to other boards that are located along the Route 30 corridor. A little difficult to see perhaps, but I do want to emphasize the point that really when we're putting a billboard along a PennDOT road, we're subject to two sets of regulations. The first would be whatever municipal regulations are in place, so your borough zoning ordinance, and then the second is PennDOT regulations. Obviously, we have to go through a process with PennDOT as well. They have their own restrictions and requirements in terms of frequency of message change and things like that. One of the things that they do require is a minimum separation of 500 feet between boards. So what this is designed to show you is there is another board in the borough that would be located to the east of this board. You know, we're 500 feet from that. Then as you're traveling in a westerly direction, there is a board, again, that's right by the river there, although that is not highway commercial zoning district. Once you pass over, I believe it's North 3rd Street, you're in an industrial zoning district. So there really is a limited corridor there where this could apply. And quite frankly, if this board is placed here, there won't really be other opportunities to place additional boards in this corridor. We're happy to answer any questions that you have about the proposal.
Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Have you gotten PennDOT's feedback when you're proposing?
We have not, the process is typically getting local permits and then submitting, but based on the requirements for PennDOT, this site is that would be a PennDOT approved site based on setbacks from the boards and also from
So you need approval from council before you take it to PennDOT?
Correct.
PennDOT can still turn it down, but that's unlikely from what I'm
That's
understanding
unlikely.
from your diagram.
Based off the conditions, correct.
Got it. Every 10 seconds. How many messages do you propose to cycle through?
Typically, what
on
we
the side?
With our structures throughout Lancaster County is seven different messages. So basically, at 10 seconds, so every 72 seconds, the messaging and replay. But with inside any one of those spots, the next time it comes up, it could be a different advertiser, different creative. So there's a lot of flexibility. The digital boards are extremely dynamic and flexible, so they can have triggers based on time, temperature, weather. That's how a lot of the information on the emergency side is disseminated throughout the digital network, is because it can be basically done by a computer instantly.
Who owns the board? You guys?
We
own the board.
We would be the owner of the board and leasing the land, having land lease for holders.
From the property owner.
From the property owner, correct.
What's the name of your company again?
Oak Tree Outdoor Advertising.
This is interesting to me. I own a marketing agency. This is really interesting to me. Okay. So you manage the board messages as well. So the board wouldn't have any control over what kind of message would be on the board.
That's correct.
Right.
I mean, basically,
It's whomever pays you the contract for the board space for that particular duration. Got it.
As a company, we're locally owned, live in the market, and we're very proper in what we display on the board. So there's things that we will not take certain types of businesses on board just because of how they presented. I kind of look at boards as being, we have to protect it being public space. They're visible and viewable by anybody that's living or passing through the community. So you want to make sure that's.
I would like to see your guidelines and policy on what kind of messaging you allow on your boards. I think that's important, right? Anything that's connected to the borough, that is the gateway, and that is the entrance into the borough, traveling east.
Yeah, so for instance, the biggest one back in the 90s was the removal of allowing nicotine cigarette advertising. That was taken out across the country. Cigarette advertising cannot be promoted on boards. And that's something that UOAAA, that is a member association based on the local companies, always are cautious about that just because of how the presented.
There's a lot of talk about the advantage to business in the borough and the gateway. There's a lot lot of language used that sounds really positive for the borough. I kind of extrapolate out of that, or maybe interpret that as there's something in it for the borough, as in maybe special rates for the borough, or free messages, one every 7 messages is a borough-related message that the borough gets. When you talk this way, that's what I think may be implied. Is that true?
We have talked about that as far as utilizing whether or not it's event-driven to promote events that are in the borough. And also the emergency component of it, being able to send information to the residents of the community, whether or not there's a gas leak or whatever, sort of thing.
We have a serious issue coming in a couple years with the Route 30 bridge. That's what I was thinking when you started talking about emergencies, using it to maybe control traffic westbound with 30, at least as a reminder. I don't know. PennDOT, put something up. Travel safe. You know what I'm talking about. The
Well, don't they have other boards along 30 for that purpose? I'm not sure.
PennDOT will,
This
yeah.
would be a board for that. Am I missing?
Oh, I'm saying PennDOT rent space to Ottawa.
PennDOT does have other, basically, over the past few years, you've seen PennDOT deploy more of their own digital boards, their Dectron units that are right in the right of way. That's one of the regulations with the outdoor advertising has to be outside of the right of way. And that they use that to direct traffic, construction or accidents, even Amber Alerts as well. But we are, with our affiliation with PA and AAA, we're tied into the Pennsylvania State Police, and that's where Amber Alerts are displayed on units.
That sounds good. I think it's a good idea.
I don't know that it's a good idea to look at to base the zoning decision on a couple of things. First of all, I don't think it's appropriate to base a zoning decision on what their guidelines are for what
I was just
can
curious.
be. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
And
I was just curious.
I also don't think that it's appropriate to base a zoning ordinance decision on
What we get back.
what we get back
Right.
from it. I mean, that's.
I was asking the question. I wanted
Yeah,
to
that
make-
has
I
to
want-
be outside
I
of.
wanted to make, when you use language like that, there's these implications that, a suggestion can go a long way to a conclusion that may or may not be the
Yeah,
intent.
and.
So
yeah,
that's
and
why I
don't
asked the
think-
question.
Yep, and I don't think that it's appropriate to say we will or won't get anything out of it because we're looking at a zoning change. I do know Mary is here if we have any questions. From planning commission standpoint, planning commission did approve, and it did go to Lancaster County Planning Commission, and we also approved it, so. We recommended approval. The planning commission, Columbia Planning Commission recommends approval as well. But we wanted to have them here tonight for anyone if they had questions. If there's no further questions, we'll put this on we are putting it on the agenda on the 14th to advertise. Frank, you have a question?
Yes, I didn't know this was coming up. Did this go through zoning?
It doesn't go through zoning.
It went through the planning
goes through
commission.
planning.
Okay, I heard that. I just not up on it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to go to the zoning hearing board because it's actually an ordinance change, which doesn't have anything to do with the zoning hearing board.
Okay.
Now, if we didn't approve it, they could go to the zoning hearing board to get a variance.
Okay. Will this replace the sign that's already there that has a continuing images on it?
Yeah.
The smaller sign.
Yeah, so that would come down. Okay. And what's the ties between the borough and the sign? Who has full control of the sign? No ties with the borough?
No.
No. And is there lights for the sign?
So it's a digital sign, so the whole face is illuminated. It's LEDs, like the digital billboards that are throughout the county and along with
Okay. Is there anything flashing on the sign?
it's what's called a non-animated transition. And that's another hazard regulation as far as the transition. It can't be a period of time from one ad to the next, and it can't oscillate, that can't fade, can't flash.
Okay. What will be the size of the image of the public?
It would be 14 feet by 48 feet, which is 670 square feet.
Okay. Okay.
I will say, when they first came in, we talked about the two different paths this could go. One, they can go to the zoning hearing board and ask for the relief necessary to put this in. But when we talked through, they decided probably the best way for them to go forward in a permanent solution was to do this text amendment, so.
Any further questions? All right, we'll have this on next Tuesday to vote to advertise. We have to advertise the ordinance, and then at the following meeting,
In an upcoming meeting then.
In an upcoming
It'll
meeting.
likely be sometime in December.
It'd probably be the first voting meeting in December, then we would vote to change it.
Probably second.
Yeah, because of the timing, because it's zoning ordinance.
It's a zoning ordinance,
So we have to have a hearing,
Oh.
and that takes a little bit
So it
more.
would be like the last one in
Correct.
December.
Yeah.
So it would probably be like the day after Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. But we'll let you know. I mean,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, review and discussion on the draft 2024 budget for all funds. Tammy is not here this evening, but we can go through everything.
So there's just a few items that we really need to wrap up with. If there's any other questions within the budget, they're all here for you to look at. But what I'd like to focus on is we had presentations from all of the different organizations, and they all made recommendations to us about what kind of level of support they would like to see. And we'd like to nail that down tonight so we know what numbers you guys are comfortable with, so we can lock that into the budget.
The first 2 pages of the budget materials, these are just the line items that were changed because of updated numbers. We've received the premiums for the insurance premium rates, and so forth, and we also wanted to pull out the staffing numbers, because some of the departments, there is a change in staffing number requested, so we wanted to make sure everyone was on with that. And what else are and then again, the donations, the community support numbers, we wanted to make sure that, because I would like to go down through, and I heard from different people, yes on this, no on this, and so I wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to weigh in on all of those contributions. The first, going down through, I want to make sure everyone understands the sergeant salary, 410, 130. The proposal is to increase, currently in 2023, our line item had 3 sergeants. The request is to increase that to 4 sergeants. So this line item was increased to show the addition of 1 more sergeant.
And Chief, I don't know if you want to address this. We did also then talk about the officer in charge line item. It's not a big number anyway, but we did feel like we could reduce that slightly, take it down a bit. I think we had it at 15,000, we moved it down to 10.
Yeah, there are two things that are going to impact that. Number one, we'll have additional ranking officers, so there should be less of a need for the OIC pay. And the second thing is, your discussions now about using corporal rate as opposed to sergeant rate. So that could be a reduction as well.
And the only thing that is still outstanding on these numbers in terms of salaries would be sergeant, corporal, and officer salaries, and also, well, part-time officer. It just depends on how much they're used. But we're still in negotiation with the police contract. So I think we put them in at, we so far counted increase of 4% for the police officers. Don't know if that's gonna be what it is or not. So that will change the numbers slightly depending on
Where that falls.
where that falls. Are there any questions on that part? And then as far as the other requested line items, we have the 423,001 Human Services Community. This is the $5,000 requested by Barbara Fisher for the 3E task force. Thoughts, comments, questions, concerns on that one? Keeping it, not keeping it?
So, can we start by saying how much we're giving away total
You mean the contributions to the?
to different organizations?
Sure. You want to start with that one?
And I mean, everything, because we give a lot away.
You know, I think that's an interesting suggestion. We're not deciding how much we have to give away before we
give it away.
Right? Versus, well, this person asked that much. Well, I guess that's enough. I don't know. Is it? What if we say we have this much we're giving away? We got to divide it however way. That's pretty smart.
I hear you. I've never looked at it in that perspective, so I don't have an actual number because what would it be including? We give contribution to the fire department. We went from covering their insurance costs and gas and everything to a lump sum payment.
But we still have to cover the workman's comp.
Yeah, and workers, yeah.
Some of it's necessary, some of it is a gift.
Right.
Right. So I haven't actually backed into the number.
But also, I would think you'd have to take the river park into consideration as well.
That's a contract.
That's a management contract, so I don't see that as a contribution. That's a contract for them to manage that facility. So I kind of see that one differently.
That's a contracted service.
But we give more than what the contract is for.
No.
No.
So what we give is what we've agreed to contractually with them for them to manage that facility.
Outside of the fire company, are they all listed on this page?
That's what I'm trying to think through. I think
If they are, I'm just roughly looking at it, 40,000, 50,000 on this. Because I don't know that we should consider the fire company in this because, I mean, we almost know I mean, we do know that we need them, and I just feel like that's kind of, in lieu of a paid fire department, we're donating some money to keep the volunteers
That's
going.
how I saw it, but it is like, part of that is a contribution,
So-
if you will, versus a contractual amount.
Right.
And the reality is, if we're gonna back into how much we have to give, we don't have any to give because we're still pulling from fund balance.
Right. I totally get that. And that's my point. And yes, we need to get to the fire company. I don't disagree at all. I think on a normal year, the money we give to the fire company is justifiable. But to give it to them every year, when there's other organizations that could use your help as well, the total amount, I'm not saying take it all away by any means. But let's not talk about the fire company, let's talk about the remaining balance. Sharon estimated $4,000 or $4,000.
Well, I just quick added it in my head.
No, that's fine.
Don't hold me to.
It's
No, that's what I'm saying, you estimated it.
35,360.
Oh, good.
Okay, close enough. That's, you round it up, it's 40,000.
There you go.
That's close enough. You know, we all have different probably interests. So for me, I'm gonna say the two things that stuck out to me from that meeting was the library and the veterans and the parade. That's kind of where my heart was when I listened to the people at that meeting. I think the cat show, the cat team is doing a good job. I think they're getting established, and I don't know that. I surely, I can't speak for everybody, I surely wasn't expecting, I thought it would be cutting their budget in half, not adding to it. So I was kind of shocked by that.
So just to be clear, what we put in here is what they asked.
Right, no, I understand. I understand. I'm just speaking for me, I'm not speaking for the budget. I don't necessarily agree with Barb's request. I believe there's enough services out there that I don't think Columbia should take on that responsibility. There's state and federal programs that will assist people in need to get on their feet, to find jobs, to help with education, everything. And the other reason is I believe that the money we give to people or give to organizations should benefit the whole community as a whole, not as a group or special interests. So,
I mean, veterans.
what's that?
Veterans are a group.
That's the exception above all. Without veterans, we wouldn't be here.
And that's specified in the borough code.
So yes, you are correct, that is a special interest, but not too many people can say they died for you, you know?
After they die for you, they can't say it.
Well,
True.
telepathy. So that's where I'm at.
Anyone else have thoughts? What do you think about the cemetery?
That's a lot of work up there, Eric.
I know.
I mean, if we get stuck with
Well,
that, Jake's
so-
gonna be busy. Wait, you're
He's
gonna have
got
to
a- he's
hire
got-
another guy.
He's got
That's
me
gonna
back.
double that salary pretty quick.
You know, the cemeteries are kind of like our parks. They are a place for people to go. And everybody in the community benefit, benefits may not the right word for that, but has the opportunity to visit loved ones in the cemeteries. And when I say cemeteries, I'm including Zion Hill as well.
I kind of look at Mount Bethel in the same vein as the Historical Society, because Mount Bethel contains so much of the town history.
Right.
So I kind of look at it in that same vein, which is the way the Borough Code sort of looks at it when they talk about care and erection of memorials. That's where that would fall.
And Eric, you're correct that people are using that more and more to walk through. They're using it like a park in a way.
Yes.
I thought, hold on, Frank, I thought, excuse me, we had, historically given 5,000 to CHIPS. The only reason it was more last year was because of the the Zion Hill project.
You know what, I think you're right.
I think that's because we had earmarked extra for the Zion Hill project. Would anyone like to?
I was just looking at the budgeted property tax income for next year at 3.5 million, and so we're not far off from 1% of that as community contributions back. 40,000, 35,000. I don't think that's excessive. I don't think it's unreasonably low either. So I like what's designated there. I think it's a reasonable list. I would agree with Eric on Barb's proposal. It's not that I disagree with the idea and the spirit behind the proposal, but somewhat of a lack of chart of accounts in the sense of what concrete are we getting out of it. I know that when we give 15,000 to the public library, I know what's happening there. You know, there's a lot of interaction with the community. There's a lot of benefit that's seen by the entire community. And we could go on through the list, same thing. I'm not opposed to the research that was suggested in that, but if there's something to axe, I don't. Yeah. That would be on the list.
When you added them up, Mark, did you count Barb's in there?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
There you go.
I was just curious because I just didn't know how far off I was. That's all.
Joanne, thoughts, comments?
Mine was just the whole cat bed, like when they were gonna start like raising some money for themselves.
They are fundraising.
I know, but then you come back this year and ask for more.
Yeah, I wish
We're not
Alan was
seeing
here
them.
to explain it better because he meets with them on a routine basis.
Well, I mean, he did come and tell us everything.
Right, he did explain it, but he knows more about why they need to ask for that.
The thing about the cats, though, is it's a public health.
Yeah.
It's a public health thing. And
Well,
we're all
275 too.
benefiting. We're all benefiting by by the cats not being able to reproduce.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I agree with the
and
program.
it's
Right.
it's going to be initially a high cost and then slope down over time, hopefully.
Well,
Because
at
we're
this-
hoping to get fixed.
Yeah,
Right.
At
Right.
this point, we're still ramping up, but my concern is with it, it's not like other line items before where it was there, it's not like when we had it before where we put the money in and it would come out as the services were rendered. My concern was, he was saying that the number of volunteers is going down, yet he continued, the number of cats getting fixed was, increasing. How do we know that the volunteers are going to be there to actually do that work? Because once we give this money, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's not like we're paying for services as it goes. I mean, if we give the money and half the volunteers go away and they're not there to help do the work, the money's gone.
Could you earmark it for reimbursement?
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to, if you didn't use it for any reason, failure of volunteers, but we had 10 people at the meeting last night, so that's not too bad, that all wanted to volunteer. But I'm wondering, since we're operating in conjunction with the shelter, that is a givable thing, right? So, I mean, even if we had the whole program folder for any reason, which I don't believe it will, but could we not just donate the remainder to them for their services?
I think you certainly could do that.
And then next year, we just wouldn't.
And I think that's how a lot of these kind of programs always work. And honestly, I think if you're giving money to those people, they should be coming in December or in January and saying, here, you gave us $7,500. Here's how we used it. Right? I mean, you should be getting, I don't want to say an accounting necessarily, but some,
And that's what happened at the last meeting.
Yeah.
They came in and told us.
Yeah.
You
But so if they come in, just as an example, let's say the CAT Action Team used $3,000 next year and you gave them $7,300. I think then you make an adjustment to that, and say, hey, you're not using the whole funds. I think that's, generally how these things kind of go. I mean, you obviously creep in government that way.
So I would like to go on the opposite end of it. I would like to say, I'm fine with 3,500 hours. And I'm fine if they come back in June and say, hey, we did X, Y, Z, we caught 250 cats, but unfortunately we're out of money. We can look for it. And if it's there, it's there. Whereas if we give it away, it's gone. And again, I thought the whole idea was to get them on their feet and let them become another thing. I'm not saying they don't deserve help by any means.
Could we do something like quarterly payments? Where we approve?
We could, but I think it would be more, Tammy generally does all of the contributions at once, and that happens in October.
So this wouldn't happen
until October. That's usually when they all come out.
So you're saying the
And we do
CAT
approval.
program, who's out of money, has to go to October next year? That's a tall task. It's almost something.
Well, I don't think they would have any problem coming in and giving a report periodically, like that quarterly or whatever you would require. I mean, I know they meet together anyway out of the shelter with the shelter staff, and so I know that they're keeping a good record of what's going on with that money. But and if it's a matter of them coming in and reporting, I'm sure they'll take whatever you give. And I'm not trying to speak for them because I'm not the chair of that group. But I would like to see them get what they asked for, because I guess she's the director, Tammy, the director out there, and Alan meet to discuss how much they think is appropriate. So I would go personally with what they requested, but like I said, I'm sure not, something's better than nothing.
Yeah, and like,
I'm with Eric, I think 3,500 is a good number.
we always, whenever a project comes up or something we want to do, we always seem to find a way to buy it. And I'm sure if the cat came in here in June or something and said, hey, we spent our allotment this year, this is our projected goal, we need X, Y, Z more, we can certainly look for it then. But once it's in the budget, it's pretty much a given that it's gone.
In this category, yes, because we usually just give one check
Right.
to them.
Usually that happens in October.
Yeah, that concerns
Check
me.
goes in October.
Well, the reason we delay is the beginning of the year is always cash flow wise really tight for us until we start getting the tax money in. So nothing really other than operating costs goes out through May, we'll say. That's when a majority of the property taxes have come in and we're in a better position financially.
So is Alan aware of this? I mean, is that committee, because most other people, whether it's the cemeteries, the fire companies, the libraries, they all know, they all have an operating budget. The cap is pretty much depending on us, only on us.
Yeah.
And
We can communicate that to them. I don't know what Tammy has told them or not. But all the other organizations know that they get our contribution check in the late summer.
And I would hope at some point Kit Kat can sustain itself, but ask them to run an operation through October with $0 is.
Well, and a lot of the people, Eric, have paid out of pocket for different things.
Absolutely, I know.
And they cannot keep that up. It is too much.
I know.
And I'm not talking about a couple bucks,
Oh,
I'm
I know.
talking thousands.
Gas money, travel time, yeah.
So we're up to 275 cats this week. I mean,
This week.
this week is the final number since the beginning. But 275, is a pretty good number. I think we've done a great job there. And it just takes a lot of volunteers, and, it does wear some of them down after a bit. So we need some fresh turnover so that it doesn't fall on the same group all the time. That's the problem, too.
I agree with Peter, this is a public safety and health issue. And I agree with you as well. I mean, the goal is for them to be self-sustaining, up and running. Nothing goes the way you want ever. I think they're doing a great job. I think what they're doing has been admirable, and they're working it. And if they need another boost, I'm willing to give it to them.
We have a waiting list actually now, and people are getting a little antsy to get on, to get moving. But our hands are tied, not maybe with volunteers, but sometimes it's tied with where we can get a clinic that can take the cats, because Columbia does a great job, but sometimes in between their clinics, we got to go somewhere else. So there's a lot of things that have to come together to make it work.
I'm wondering, is this one of those instances where we could maybe give the donation earlier versus having to wait till October? Is that, you can't do that? Is that unfair?
No, we can.
You could do
You guys
that?
tell us if you want it done.
We can, we just have to make sure that.
If they really need the operating cash to keep the momentum going, I would consider that for sure.
Sure. You guys tell us what you want to do.
My thought is $5,000. Not cut it completely in half, but cut it a bit.
No, I agree with Eric. I think in the end, if whatever number we settle on, if we find that the program is doing great and they're halfway through the year and need more, then come back and talk to us and see what we can do.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, and I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that the kitten season and all kind of slow down a little bit over the winter, hopefully. And then towards spring again and summer, we're going to see the need for more maybe. I don't know. That's my amateur prediction. But it's like Peter said, though, the more we fix, the less money we should need, theoretically.
Theoretically.
Yeah, so.
I just hate to give a big check out.
Yeah.
But I think by going with a small amount, we can definitely give it money sooner, so that when spring does come around,
The money's there.
the money's there for you to work with.
Just let me know what number you want to put in.
What number?
If somebody wanted to suggest we match last year's, I'd be okay with that.
I think it should be less than that.
I'll suggest we match it.
That's it. What, you're thinking 5,000?
Me, I was closer to Eric. Yeah, I was closer to Eric.
What's Eric's number?
35.
35?
Can we do 4? Do I hear 4?
501.
Well, I mean, this is a tough part. I'd rather us say, hey, you know what? We're going to agree on $40,000 this year, or $30,000, or we're going to agree not to give any money out. We should agree on something and then figure out, okay,
Who gets what portion of that?
I want to get this, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So-
We haven't done it that way.
No.
I get it. It's,
I'm just thinking through this, it just, I mean, hey, well, here's 10, here's 5, here's 7.
money for you.
Yeah. We'll give away money that we may not have. That's,
Is everyone okay with the 15,000 from for the library?
I agree that it should go up. 15,000 is a lot. I was thinking 10.
So I was thinking,
They got 5.
But historically, they were getting 10. Historically, they were getting 10, but 5 years ago, when they did the expansion, there was a lump sum, 25,000 given, with the understanding the next 5 years it would only be 5,000. Those 5 years are now over, so we would think to go back to
At least 10.
at least 10.
so I was looking for more, but I don't think we're in a position to give more.
Right.
So I would definitely say we need to look at a plan to get them more. But at this time, I mean, I like the 15. I prefer to stay at 15. But I also understand Barb going back to 10.
All right, so
10,
library, 10,
10.
10, 10,
15.
15.
I'm with 10. I'm thinking.
I'm with 15.
I'm with 15.
4, 3.
4, 3, what, 15?
15.
That's 15.
I think our number should be 35,000 that we give.
I agree with that.
It's 1% of our projected revenue on taxes. And if we give 3,500 to CAD Action Team at the beginning of the year, maybe we can spare 3,500 to give to Barb's plan. But
She was
with
asking 5.
with that, this is just food for thought. With that, I think, Barb, I would just say, I think, from my perspective, I want to see a budget, not just this will be discretionarily spent, but a budget for that line item.
So before we go on this, I gotta ask, does your committee, is that it's not a borough sanctioned committee
No, it's just sort of an ad hoc.
of what organization though? Is it a,
A task force.
It's not a 501c3, it's not a nonprofit organization, so you're right. If you try to define it, I would say it was more of a task force or ad hoc committee that was put together. It wasn't
Can we
officially
give
sanctioned by the
can we give
borough.
money to a non-profit organization.
I don't see it as you're giving money to us. Like last year, it wasn't under, what do you have it under this year? Human Services. Last year it was community development. And, and it was more of a task force to, what?
If you say, I want to put $5,000 into community development for the borough, and you want to use that $5,000 for advertising, having a job fair or something like that, that's something I can maybe understand. But just to have a bunch of people, I'll say 5 guys who like football, want to put a football committee together, and hey, can you give us $5,000 so we watch football on Sundays? I'm not trying to make money to work by any means. I'm saying
we have to be very careful about that.
Yeah.
Because we've had that, honestly, that's a problem we've had in the past year, where you have a gray area where is something a borough committee or is it not? Is it a nonprofit? Is it not? I think, having not been here for the discussion regarding that prior, it seems like probably a worthwhile cause in some way. I'm not sure right now, given what I've heard, that it's something that you guys can give money to, because it really does need to be a kind of a nonprofit that's performing some type of service, essentially, that the government doesn't have to, right? That's why you can give to these certain organizations, is because they kind of perform a government function that the government doesn't have to do. So I think, you just need to be very, very careful about that.
Yeah, I still think that the purpose and the focus wasn't defined enough for me to feel comfortable putting money into a line item for that. To talk about, in case we need people for research, I believe that there are people in the county that can do that and help with that if we need them to. The Lancaster EDC, they have all of that information. The planning department in Lancaster County has all that. They can slice and dice stuff if we need to.
I met with Jessica this week and she gave me a lot of ideas of places to go.
And I also, like Eric, we have all these organizations doing the same thing, and do we really, what are we going to do with that money that these other organizations are not doing? Is I guess, what I kept coming back to. So, I personally would like to see that line at 0. I would like to see CHIPS back down to 5,000. I'm good with Mount Bethel. I'm at 15 for the library and the Veterans Council of 5, and then I'd say the CADIT back down to 3,500. What, can you add that up for me? This poll is kicking my butt. I can't even think.
I can. Hold on.
What?
Sorry, I got it then.
31? 31.5? No, I got it from you. Because I was fine until you started being all...
29 or so.
I would like to see the veterans up 1,000.
Yeah, I kind of did too.
29?
Yes, 29 is
Yeah,
what I
that's
got.
what I got.
With that would have the veterans at 500, so if you wanted to bump that up, that would be 29.5 then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then, hey, the other 500 to make it at 30 would be, CCAP would go to 4.
Yeah, we're closer. We're sort of.
Hey, budgets are horse trading most of the time.
What?
I said budgets are horse trading.
Exactly,
That's what it
that's
is.
what it is. It's all, so what are we thinking there?
We're almost there, 4,500.
I don't want to go above 30.
So, and we're at 30 with those numbers?
Well, if you bump the veterans up $500, you're at $29,500.
No.
I think she said CCAT.
To CCAP
CCAP,
before.
then you're right at 30.
Now we're right at 30. What are we thinking?
30.
I'm thinking that's a $15,000 adjustment. I'm okay with that.
Chips is 5, cemetery's 5, library's 15, veterans is 1,000, and CCAT is 4,000. Are we good with that? We're good? Yeah. All right.
Reason to disagree.
Just trying to move it along. All right, Frank, you had a question.
God, no.
I did.
Right at 30.
The only thing I'll say is, on the side of the catch, I make every one of the meetings that I can. And I said before, I've never heard one of them ask for any money for gas or food or anything. And I give them credit. But then I kind of looked at what Eric said down the road, if you're going to lose volunteers, and that can happen in anything. Along them lines, you said we would not get the donation until October.
That's typically when we send out all of our donations.
That's, go ahead, donations. Now, what about like fair companies and things like that?
That goes out in October.
Everything is then?
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm just trying to wrap my brain. I can't move ahead here a little bit and talk about the fund that balances the budget, can I?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the budget here.
Okay, what's the name of the fund that supposedly we balanced the budget with last year? What's the name of that fund?
We used some of the ARPA money, Frank, the American Recovery Act funds.
Well, we didn't use it last year.
But to balance the budget on paper, we put a number in this year.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the 23 budget, this year's current budget, that's where we earmarked money out of that account for that.
Okay, what is the name of the fund I'm trying to think of?
ARPA, the American
Reserve.
You mean the reserve fund? Is that what you're looking for? I'm not sure what you're looking
The
for.
fund that supposedly we balanced the budget with, and I didn't bring no paperwork along.
So we generally take it out of what we call the reserve fund, which is just the bank account where this money sits.
It's just sort of like your residual.
Yeah.
After you pay your bills, you have that extra and it just builds up.
Okay, how much do we have in that reserve fund as of now?
I don't have a fixed number. I wouldn't want to tell you wrong. It's gone down over the past several years because we've had to tap into it over the past, I would say, many years. We've been eking that down slowly. The last 2 years, we were fortunate enough that at the end of the year, we actually did not spend all of our money, so we did not take out of the reserve fund. Then actually technically put a little bit back into it, if you will. We didn't spend down all of our account. But in the 23 budget, we did have a line item to transfer $300,000 out of the federal ARPA money, the American Recovery Act money, to balance the budget.
Okay, what will we use if we have to do that to balance the budget this year?
We still have money left in that federal account, the ARPA account, to do that. We have 1 more year's worth of balancing money we can do out of
that. You said we can go anywhere? My understanding is we're going to put a code person on it.
No, it's actually not considered code, it is a building inspector.
Well,
Is
okay.
what a second building inspector.
It falls under the code department.
Yeah.
It falls under the code department. We have one programmed in here, yes.
Yeah, that's my understanding. How are we going to pay for that?
Out of the general fund.
That's part of the budget.
Part of the budget.
But that's part of the budget that we didn't have, that's an addition. How much will that position be? We didn't have that.
Correct.
Is this for 24?
For 24, yes.
Okay.
This past year, we lost an admin person.
Yes.
Yeah, it's about 50,000 plus benefits.
This is our zoning.
So 65, say-ish.
Do we have a way of recouping that?
Well,
We lost an admin person and a zoning manager. I mean, we lost those two.
so, yeah, but the way we
Salaries.
recoup some of that, Frank, is, I'll say that the code department is one of the departments that actually generates revenue through code fines and fees.
Right.
And the fines that we collect cover the cost of the staff in that department.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Where I'm coming from, to me, it's an addition. If it's $50,000, it's a bill that we didn't have this year. But in code, one of the things with codes is they charge $100 per unit, per property, for licensing. If it's 2 units, or if it's 2 houses, if it's 2 units in this house, if it's 10 units, if it's 40 units, if it's 50 units, it's still $100. Now, how is that fair?
$100 per unit?
To a property owner.
Or property.
That's the rental registration fee.
Yep.
And that pays for all of the, it doesn't matter how many units are in there, the administrative work behind it is all still the same for each property.
But it's not $100 a unit, it's $100 per property. Now, we got some properties that maybe got 20 units, 40 units. Now, how is that fair?
Right, but the rental registration is just for the admin work that goes into that property for the, all of the back end stuff. But they have to pay for, each unit pays for the inspections and all of that. It's paid for, right, Paula? It's
Correct.
You've got to pay for the inspections, but the licensing, to have that place licensing, it could be 40 units in that one building, and it's still only $100.
So are you-
Yet I gotta pay $100 if I have 1 unit in my property. It's not a fair system.
Are you suggesting everybody $100 per unit?
It's a way of making, you're always looking to raise revenue. To me, you're really missing the boat.
You can't, that's one of those things that you can't charge more than what it costs to do that function.
Yeah, I think
So we would have to, if we charged $100 a unit for, say, a 5 unit, so we're charging $500 for the rental registration on a 5-unit building, that's actually more than what it costs us to process that. So,
Can I
and we
say something
can't
else?
do that, yes.
I looked at that because I understand what you're saying, and also for a way to raise revenue. But I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's regulated, that fee is regulated by the borough, because I saw, or by the state, because Philadelphia and Pittsburgh are all the same.
It is not, it has to be reasonable. It has to be related, like Heather said, related to your admin cost for doing that. But it is not, I can't say that it is regulated by the state in any way. And it
Every
could,
municipality I looked at is $100.
So it's 25 in Lancaster.
the other say, like, one of my other boroughs is a much smaller borough, but theirs is 25 or 50. Yeah.
I mean, I can see going under the threshold, but I think you can go over that.
Yeah, I think if you can make the argument that it's related to your cost in administering that.
So what Frank's saying is lower the cost per unit,
For 1 unit.
but charge for every unit.
Yep.
Just have a base fee, registration, and then a fee per unit. You could charge a flat fee, make up a number, $50 for registration, and then $10 per unit. You know, you could go that direction possibly, I don't know.
What is the
Or-
difference, so maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but because Frank, I absolutely understand what you're trying to get at here. Is the registration fee just to say, hey, we've got a rental here?
It's a rental property, yeah.
Yeah.
It's legal to have
It
that.
it doesn't necessarily guarantee a license is issued for that. Because what I was asking Paula was, if you have a 3-unit property and one unit is fine and the other 2 have lots of problems and you're not going to get a rental license for that, that rental registration doesn't affect that. That doesn't give the license automatically once that registration is, okay, that's what I was misunderstanding.
And the same goes if you buy a property that you have all intents and purposes, know you're going to rent it, but it's not ready to be rented, you don't need to register it until that point.
Okay.
I just see as the borough missing an opportunity here. Here we are, we're coming up with a $50,000 fee. How are we going to fund that? We're going to come out of taxpayer money, help pay for itself. If you're going to tax, by either lowering the 1 unit and charging each unit a fair.
Or keep it there and then have that $100 get you X units, and then above that, you charge a fee.
You could do it like honestly, like a lot of water companies do, where you pay a base fee for the first 1,000 gallons of water you use, and then a certain amount for each 1,000 after that, whereas it just be like what Mark said,
I would sooner see per unit. Here's the fee per unit. I mean, better units you got. I guess this was set up before we had the big high rises here with all the units in it, and it kind of got ahead of us. But I think it really needs to be looked at.
Well, I kind of think, in a way, that would kind of be a nightmare for codes and accounting, because when we look at the properties, in our permitting software, the property address is the property address. It's not broken out by units. It's like one file.
When you go to inspections, we're talking about units.
Well, right, and they get charged for
And they get charged, the inspection fee is per unit.
And that's why I think it should be for licensing.
Okay, we can, that'll be discussion during, in December when we look at the fee schedule.
It would have to be fair, as you said. I mean, I think it depends on how much time is spent on a multi-unit versus a single unit, right? You have to be fair. You can't be making an exorbitant amount of profit off of a parcel.
The registration of a parcel, no matter if it's 1 unit or 50 units, the registration process is the same. That's why we have a flat fee.
Right. Yeah, that's
That's really the crux of the whole problem.
Right.
I understand what he's saying, but you really can't.
Right.
You're not allowed to.
It's the same steps, it takes the same amount of time. I mean, really, Paula, does it take more time to do a multi-unit registration than a single unit?
It depends. If you're doing a place like across the street here where it has how many units? 33, I think.
37.
You have to go through, make sure all the tenant information is updated and
Right.
whatnot. So, yes, it can. Same with St. Peter's Apartments, HT's, high-rise. Yeah, they.
The high rises, yes, but generally 1 to 4.
Not a whole lot. Teresa has been working in this year.
If the paperwork is correct and up to date, it wouldn't take any longer, but the paperwork is not up to date. So it could take me half hour to do a bigger unit because I have to change all this information. But like I said, that's because they're not updating the paperwork.
And that's not everyone, but there's
It's
certain-
nominal. It sounds nominal anyway.
Yeah, you mentioned high rises. We don't have them anymore. We lost them. We don't get paid for high rises. They're done by the state. St. Peter's and Holy Trinity, we don't inspect them.
No, we don't inspect them, but they still have to register.
Yeah, they still register them.
Yeah.
So for this line item, it's the same.
Are you saying we lost the revenue from the inspections? That's what he's saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't get inspected because we decided they're inspected once by the state. I looked at that years ago when I had some rental, and I thought, yes, they do get inspected twice. I brought it up, nobody paid me any mind. Then since that has been done, take it off. When I had a roof redone up home, it was done through the insurance company. They were in there working on the roof. I had 2 inspectors from the borough come up to me. And I realized, I knew that I should have got a permit, and I just told them, they want a permit for the roof. Now, I don't know what they're going to inspect, and I still don't know why they got a permit for me to put a roof on. But they come back later on all pissed off, and I just didn't get a chance to make it out, because they're helping them guys. But then I got to thinking to myself, this is something new, something that was added. What are these inspectors, what are they going to inspect? They never even looked at the roof. They didn't care about it. They wanted that permit money. But tell me what they're going to inspect.
I think replacement wasn't.
Well, I'm not going to get into, we have a building, a third-party inspector that comes out and does that, so we can have them come in and explain what they do, but I don't want to get into what is looked at during a roofing inspection versus a drywall inspection versus that. That's not our world, that's why we have a third-party company do it for us.
Yeah, I never knew we had a third party, because those 2 were from the borough, and they were both there.
Our building inspector, our construction inspection is done by Commonwealth.
Yeah, it was about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh.
I don't know what's changed in that, but I'm just, I know it was added, it made revenue for the borough.
Right.
And I guess the person could look at it, or go buy a house or whatever, come to the borough, say, is that roof inspected, or what do they inspect? That's what. So just those couple of things I wanted to bring up. And we still don't know how much is in the fund that they could take from.
I don't have that number here, no.
The archive.
No.
Is it in the millions?
I don't have that number here, Frank. Yes, but I don't have that number in my head.
I thought we would have that being a budget meeting.
It's not part of the budget, it's
Well,
the additional funds that we have. We know what it is, it's not some mystery number, I just don't have it in front of me.
All right, thank you for letting me.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions on the budget?
Are we going to help CAT get their funding earlier, their money earlier?
Yeah, you said so. You took care of that earlier. Yep.
And Mark, you said the fee schedule will be in December.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. We like to adopt that before the end of the year so that all the fees are set.
And that gets advertised separately than this?
It's by resolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the fee schedule doesn't get advertised because it's just
It's
a
a
resolution.
resolution.
It's a resolution, it gets advertised on the agenda that it goes to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on this?
I think we're good, just like you said, we're hopefully wrapping up the police contract negotiations. As soon as we get that locked down and done, I think that'll be the final numbers that we have to, if we have to adjust at all, that'll be the final thing we adjust.
And then next Thursday, do we need to have the budget meeting next Thursday to review everything again, or no?
I thought we already canceled.
No, we didn't.
No, we haven't canceled it yet. We said it depends on this meeting.
It would depend on this meeting.
Okay.
We didn't make any changes other than to the contributions here. I'd
Right.
bring it to the next meeting for consideration.
Yeah, we'll need authorization to advertise at your second November meeting at the latest in order to
That's-
advertise it and get it passed this year.
No, not
28th.
this Tuesday, the 28th.
28th.
That would be the
That
latest.
was, right, and that was kind of what we were thinking, was that we were gonna do it we were gonna advertise the 28th
And then adopt the first
and
meeting.
adopt the first voting meeting in December.
Okay.
Does that work?
I just need to look
It's
at,
10 days.
it is it exactly, because we need probably, we normally have to have it in at least 2 days ahead with LNP in order to get it, so if it's just 10 days, then
No, it's not.
it's not. Okay, oh, you have the 28th to the 12th.
Right.
It looks
So we
like.
have time.
Well,
Yeah, it should be
it's 2
okay.
weeks.
Okay, yeah, we should be good.
Yeah, it's two,
Yep.
yeah, we're 2
It's just
weeks
over,
out.
yeah.
We're 2 weeks then.
Yep.
We just have to have the ad ready.
Mhm.
If it's,
Right.
And the budget ads are very simple. There's not, it's not like you print the budget in the
No.
ad.
And
Yeah.
hopefully by then, by the 28th, we'll have, the contracts, all but done and ready to go, so we should not have to have any numbers that would change significantly after that, so we should be good. All right, well then, we will cancel next Thursday's budget meeting. All right, and next we have discussion regarding HARB administrative approvals, enforcement, and to consider changes to the Chapter 130, regarding paint and vinyl.
Okay, I'll just go through these rather quickly. I just wanted to kind of update everyone on some of the things that I see as I go through the borough, and I've had a lot of things that I've reported, a lot of violations and so forth over my years on council. So if you want to get to the next one. I wanted to bring up the administrative approvals because I noticed that there was a dramatic increase in them, so I started to research it. I went back to 2018 when there were only 8 in 1 year. Versus in 2022, we were up to 52 administrative approvals. Now, I thought we should examine why there was such a dramatic increase. I just want to make sure that reviews aren't being bypassed, like things that should go to HARB aren't being overlooked. It could be that all of a sudden people want to fix their house up and they're doing roof work or whatever. And last night when I attended HARB, one of the members took me aside before the meeting began and asked about roofing in particular. And I believe I sent an email about that today because he wanted me to bring this up tonight. He did not believe that any roof work, unless it's taken down, I guess, to the sheath or plywood or whatever, needed a permit. Now, I told him I thought they did, but I didn't want to give him a solid answer there because I didn't really know. So do you have any light to shed on that, or?
I think it's based on area, isn't it?
Well, I told him I thought a fourth or less you didn't need it if you were like making a repair.
Correct.
Of the plywood sheeting.
But
Was way a lot of them look at it, and we'll get with we can ask Commonwealth to see what they do because they're the ones that we use for these inspections. So we'll follow the lead on that.
okay, well, this was Board Member Brandt who wanted to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we can get to the bottom of that, but I just wanted to know, for my own sake, to know why it increased so much over the course of just a few years. So, okay, you can go to the next one. And then the enforcement of violations, I don't believe personally fines are stopping them at all. I think it's a slap on the wrist. And the violations are, some of them become a permanent part of the historic district because, moving on to the pictures of why, these are just some examples of what remains behind. Is this what we really want for our historic district? Do we want it to look like this? This vinyl fence, for instance, I reported that as soon as it went up in 2021. And in spite of multiple follow-ups, the fence is still there. Nothing changed. A shorter wrought iron fence was taken down and this was put up. And it was pretty bold, standing right out in your historic district, so, okay, you can go ahead to the, and then, this is just stuff I see when I'm walking through town. I'm not looking for violations, I just see them, they're just all over. So this, front section of this property, as you can see, is sort of an enclosed, it could have been a porch, I don't know what it was used for, but it was definitely enclosed. And the one day I walked past, the whole thing was removed, and you'll see that in the next slide then. Oh, no, you won't. Okay. But I put this in because demolition of buildings, no existing building or enclosed portion can be removed, demolished, raised, whatever, in whole or in part unless there's reasonable alternatives, but we don't know that because it never went to HARB for discussion. So then there's what it looked like when I saw it the next time, and I was pretty shocked. I thought, wow. So work continued. This one I think was reported in August, and the work continued. The porch floor and railings there were added. It was like a composite type of floorboard that I know other people in the district asked to use and were denied. So this was moving right along, and I believe yesterday, Jessica said that they received a notice of violation.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of this is what we're calling after the fact. The work's done, and in most cases, I would venture to say they're not told you gotta remove it, you gotta tear it off. They're given a fine, and we're stuck with it. So you can go ahead, Mark, with the, and then I wanted to move on to the painting. The facade at 144 Locust Street was painted black, and it was a permastone, am I saying that right? Which is kind of porous, so you're never going to get the paint back off. But according to our borough ordinance, it should have been reviewed by HARB prior to being painted. Because as you can see, I don't know how else to interpret that, but including without limitation, the repair, application of paint to any previously unpainted building material or surface. It does not say you don't have to worry about permastone or, I mean, it's any building material. So I think it should have had a HARB review, but that did not happen. They were given permission to paint, as you know, to go ahead. They were given permission from staff, so it never went to the HARB board. So you can go ahead, Marco. And this is the house we're talking about. You can sort of see at the top, it was sort of a neutral color. So prior to the painting, the metal railing was removed and replaced with what they were calling hog wire on the front porch. And the exact wording, hog wire, was used on the original agenda for the October HARB. Now they couldn't have that meeting because there was a lack of a quorum. Now they changed that wording. They softened it, in my opinion, to wire mesh to the November agenda, but it still has a farm-like appearance. It looks like an animal cage, in my opinion. And I'm just saying, for the main street in our town, in the heart of the historic district, if we're going to allow this, I'm not sure why we have a HARB board, but you can go to the next one. And here's an example then of how the painting proceeded. You can see at the top where the neutral colors were and then the black. Now I know we don't control color, but I just still think this should have had a HARB review before this work was done, because now it's completed and we will never get that off of there. Obviously, it's not coming off. So, and there was just the definition of alterations. It just seemed like the whole thing needed. So you can go to the next slide.
And if you notice, the house next to it, which is not the subject of this, that one has the same, similar formstone or permastone on it that was also painted.
Yeah, I don't know when that was done.
I don't know either.
I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah. And the original building was actually brick, so that
Yeah, I was gonna
permastone
say, isn't the original facade like brick under
It
there?
is brick, but
Yeah.
the permastone was put on, I forget what year they said, but really
Probably the
long
70s,
ago.
yeah.
And permastone has the ability, we were told last night, to prevent the bricks underneath from breathing. and then you're gonna have moisture that could be in the house. And then if you paint the permastone, it compounds that problem, is what we were told. But anyway, you can go to the next one. And this is an example, this painting project just up the street from this one was brought to an immediate halt, as I said, on a Saturday, because they saw them painting it. And they said, you can't paint this because it was previously unpainted. You must go to HARB. And it sits like that today because nothing more happened. But, okay, you can go ahead. And then this is another example of some work that proceeded on the facade in the historic district without going through the proper process. So now we're left with an L-shaped thing, and I guess it was a mini split or something that they were
Air
doing.
conditioning unit put in the building.
And then you have the other one on the other side. So this also, according to definition of alteration, should have gone to the HARB board. You can go ahead. Try to get through this quick. And I was wondering if the fees we collect for these HARB violations, could they go in the HARB budget and be used to hire a consultant like we did with, when we had Suzanne Stallings? It was like a small stipend, it wasn't a huge amount of money.
Yep.
And I'm just wondering, she would go out, take pictures of the properties that were coming up. She made sure that she handed you that pink thing you had to, the placard you had to put in your window, to alert the neighborhood that you're making changes to the property. And that's actually part of the HARB process. If that's not displayed, we shouldn't even be reviewing the property. So I think we've become very lax in what we're doing with this, but go ahead, we'll just keep plowing through this. So the permanent damage, this is my opinion, permanent damage to Columbia's historic district has been insidious, just creeping in one project at a time. Some of the house flippers, I feel, are robbing the borough of our historic district. They're stuffing their wallets, they're not looking back, they just leave town, they don't live here, and they don't care what's left behind. We're the ones that are left with it. And it's not really fair for the residents who live in the district to ask them to comply with HARB if the house flipping people aren't. That's how I feel, but it's not fair. We got to treat our residents better than that. So you can go to the next one. Yeah, I did say that I feel some of this stuff has the potential to lower property value. This is a view from the bridge and from, I think that's from Laurel Hill. I'm not sure. But this is sort of the change in the landscape. I don't know if that's the right word to use here, but I think vinyl siding and the vinyl fencing, which I showed earlier, is creating a manufactured or industrial appearance. And I believe that's inconsistent with our historic district. But the vinyl siding and so forth, I know that currently our ordinance says what you look at. If you can't see the sides and the back, you can do with what you want. But I think this is a good example of the side of a building and the back of a building that has an impact from a distance. You might not see it when you're standing right there, but it has the ability to change what we're looking at as we're entering Columbia, because it is visible from, I will say, the Wrightsville side. It's there, you can see it. Because at first I thought it was insulation when it was first going up, but then I realized it is white siding. You can go ahead. So in just bringing this to conclusion here, I was proposing that we maybe discuss or think about requiring a more consistent enforcement of violations within the historic district. Authorize the hiring of a consultant to join HARB for the purpose of initiating reviews and interacting with applicants. Consider ordinance change, not allowing vinyl siding or vinyl fencing within the historic district. Address the sharp increase in these after-the-fact permits. I mean, prior to my sitting on council, I don't know that I've ever heard that we were issuing them. It would have been rare, I think. And I really want to see them print some literature, or this gal that was here last night for the house down here said she went to the Historic Society to learn more about that property. And I thought, well, there's an opportunity for Chris maybe to give her some literature and say, hey, you're in the historic district, you might want to talk to the borough before you begin work on that. Or somewhere there's a breakdown because people are acting like they have no idea and that they can just move ahead with repairs and remodels and using any material they want. The alternative is that we just don't hold everybody accountable to HARB then. I mean, and I know you said before you don't want to abolish HARB, but I just think it's so arbitrary and random, and the people left behind are the ones that are living here and have to comply. I just don't think it's quite fair. So that's all I have to say. If anybody has any questions, you can ask. I don't know if I can answer.
Also to say thank you. One of the things that we have as a goal is, one, to resurvey the historic district. So we have a solid review of the architectural type, style, age of each building. Then we want to develop a set of design guidelines that are based on the different architectural types of buildings. And the best example I have is if Todd goes out and buys a 1965 Ford Mustang and thinks it's just the greatest car in built, but then he realizes he can't get a part, so he puts a Chevy door on the side of a Ford Mustang. Some people will think, that looks weird. Any true car person will go, what were you thinking? That doesn't fit at all. And that's kind of the way historic houses are. There is a type of window, a type of door, a type of siding, type of roofing that was designed to be with that style. And I think once we get that design guideline that will tell you this is the type of house you have and these are the general things that you put in there, it helps a lot. So that is a goal. Step one was to become a certified local government, which we've done. Step two is to start surveying the district. We've got the grant money, we're out for RFPs right now to get that done. One of the advantages you talked about is making this available. One of the goals of the resurvey is to get all this information in a digital format that can go into a GIS-based program that make it online available. People go online and look up their house, and then they can get pictures of it. They can learn about the nature and characters at home to make more of that information available. And we've talked to Chris about scanning in more and more of his photos, and then we can attach photos of that house to that property. So when you go and look it up, you'll be able to see it. So I agree. Those are all great things that we are working towards right now to try to accomplish. I think it'll help.
The online thing sounds good. But I just feel like somehow these people are they're not looking up, they're not trying to research before the beginning of the walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if when a property comes up for sale, if we should be somehow proactive if it's in the district. I don't know if we would be allowed legally to put a sign on the door, this home is in the historic district, call the borough.
I mean, honestly, what I was thinking, and I have no idea whether you could do this or not, would be to just record something at the recorder of deeds office for each property that is in the historic district that would just say, this property is in the historic district. If you want to do anything to it in the future, you will have to, go before Columbia Borough's HARB. And that way, when someone did a title search on the property, if they were purchasing it, then that would pop up and they would know, they certainly couldn't then claim that they didn't have notice that, that they were in the historic. Like I said, I have no idea whether we could do that or not, but that's just something that kind of popped
It sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
It does come up on the appraisal, because it is one of the appraisal things.
On the assessment.
So, the appraiser.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a box that they check for
Gotcha.
historic district.
Okay.
You would think that the realtor would tell them, you're in a historic district, you better check with the borough.
So, sometimes if that doesn't help the sale, that doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't help
Well,
the
there
sale.
is definitely some breakdown, because obviously
Right.
people are coming in and they're starting work right away before we even know.
Well, I thought we were trying to get, that was one of the things we tasked HARB with, was coming up with literature that could be sent out to.
Well, I reminded them of that last night, that they have money in the budget that they could work with to
Yeah, I
get
mean,
something together, but out of the last 11 meetings, which would have been this year so far, they canceled 4 of them. And I had suggested before that instead of canceling because there's not a review, I had suggested they either bring in a guest speaker or they brainstorm a way to get some literature out. But they did mention that again last night, that they were, I think Jessica suggested it last night, but this had been something we had been kind of telling them. Because there's money been sitting in there. It's not a ton, of course, but it might be enough to print something or get something started.
I mean, that's been for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And they did have a guest speaker come in and actually talk about how to handle
Bricks.
masonry and bricks.
Yeah, because we suggested that, and so that happened once. Yeah.
Yes, Mary?
Frank was here. Mary Wickenheiser. I guess as you guys know, I was on council when the historic district was passed and the ordinance was passed. And I will tell you, we lost a lot when we lost Suzanne Stallings.
I agree.
Harb lost a lot. She needed to be replaced. That did not happen. One of the other things is, I'm like Sharon and her husband. We walk town. I've seen these things. And even in my own block, there was work being done on a home where they were completely redoing the porch. There happened to be one of our codes guys up there. And we asked them, hey, do they have a permit for that? And I know the guys went over and talked to them, and that work continued. Now they are continuing it, finishing it up, and it does look like what it did before. But in walking town, in the historic district, if somebody's working, I can't tell anymore without calling up here to find out if they have a permit to do that work. We used to have, when I put the roof on my house, I'm in the historic district. I had a pink thing there saying I was okay to do that roof. And I think those of us who are in the historic district really want to see it stay. But it's almost like we have to be very vigilant within our own area. That's like you said, the flippers, 732 Chestnut Street. Pressure treated wood for support. I know there were columns there. I can't find the pictures, but I know there were columns there. They came in and did what they wanted to.
I questioned that. I questioned those too, and I was told that, they're gonna have the form put around it,
Yeah.
but there's still
6x6 pressure treated columns with pressure treated floor up there. And we won't get into that property tonight. But, I totally agree with most of what Sharon said tonight. And thank you for bringing this up.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Frank?
Try and make it quick. Going back to the roofs, it was always my opinion, the trusses, the plywood, the paper, the shingles, or tin, whatever you're going to put on, that's all the roof. Most people, when they come into the borough for a building permit, okay, I want to put a new roof on. You're only putting shingles on and any plywood and paper that is bad. So I don't know how the codes or how your ordinances define that. Does anybody know how you define a roof? I know most when you come in, you're just going to put shingles and you're just going to replace the shingles and any bad plywood. So you're not really doing roof, but not knowing how this is defined, it'd be a little tough.
That would likely be in the Uniform Construction Code.
Yeah.
Which we don't, that's why we have a third-party person doing that, because that is, you need to be very specialized to understand that.
Well, but how do you pay then? Is there a standard fee for a building permit? And what type roof? or you're talking, you know.
I mean, I'm assuming there's probably a standard fee. Sometimes a building permit fee is also tied to the value of the improvements as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if someone says this project's gonna cost $10,000, that permit's a different cost than one where they say it's gonna cost $100,000.
Correct. Yeah, there's an administrative fee that we collect, and there's a permit fee based on the cost of construction.
Okay. All right, well, the other thing, I was at the CAT meeting and stayed over for the same meeting that Sharon went to last night. And I got an education, folks. The meeting went over 2 hours. What I didn't understand, and I brought it up at the end to the board, the board shies away. They don't want to have to fine anybody. I don't know if we ever fined anybody, but like I told them, how are you going to make the people accountable for what they've done? If they didn't get a permit, they need to be fined. Be me, I'd give them a $10,000 fine, and it's going to get their attention, and anybody else that comes into our town, we're going to be told somehow about this big fine.
Isn't that in our fee schedule?
We have
It's
fines
like
for-
double, it's like,
Double
and
permit
after,
fee, yeah.
after the fact permit fee is double the cost.
But it's still not really stopping.
No, it's not.
And now, Frank, I do have to tell you though, and you remember this, that guy out on, was it 13th Street, built the pole barn, and it was too high.
Yes.
And they made him take that down and make 2. Now, I don't know if it's better or worse, but the neighbors came together and complained about it, and so they were made to take it down. But it's rare, I think, that we make people comply to take something down and go back.
It is incredibly rare, not for, well, it doesn't happen too often that a municipality will ask for that. It is exceedingly rare that a judge would grant that remedy, is what I'll tell you. The judges do not like to make people tear down work that has already taken place. That's the reality. I've probably asked 3 or 4 times in my career for that, and I've never had the judge say, yeah, tear down whatever that, a porch or a building or anything like that.
Well, I know the neighbors had an attorney, and they came here
Yep.
all together, but I don't know if it went to the court, through the courts, or if they just decided to comply. I don't know how far it went, I can't remember, but yeah, that's the problem with the after-the-fact permits, because the work's done and it just stays here, they pay a fine and leave, they don't care. But, yeah, sorry, Frank, I didn't mean to.
It's not right. 9th Street on the curve, I can't think of the name of that street there, but years back, they built a home there, and it was too close to the front of the road, and they had to move that back. They had done that, I can't remember the name of the street, but I know it's been done, maybe more too, that I just can't remember over the years. Thank you.
Could I just real quick add, when you said about education, it reminded me, when Suzanne was here, we did get an education, when she would really give like guidance on, because we had to go before Harbin, and we really learned a lot about what the materials were we were going to use and things like that. So it is meant to be, I think, an educational process for everybody involved, but, yeah, so.
Yes.
All right, so, I mean, we want to put this on the future agenda to review the harm?
I have been talking with some of the members of the HARB board and talking with Jessica, and I think the plan is for us to take some time with HARB and go through and look at some of these suggestions that have come up, and look at modifying our code, looking at making these improvements. I think the one that came out very clearly is that maybe we do need to have a consultant on board that can provide the technical review of some of these things prior to going to the board. So we'll look at all that.
I would like to see that happen. Would that be a position we could advertise for?
That'd be a service, a contract service, not an employee of the borough.
But so you wouldn't advertise necessarily?
Probably do more. maybe?
Yeah, we could do an RFP or see who's
Do
available.
interviews, yeah.
And there are firms out there that have people on staff that do this kind of work.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time with them.
Thank you.
Could we get a copy of what you presented, please?
I was afraid somebody might ask for that. I only have one, but maybe,
Could
would
you
they?
send it
can send it out.
electronically?
Okay,
I
gotcha.
can email it
There
out to
you
you.
go.
I
I
just
don't
don't
need
wanna
an old-fashioned
forget.
copy, okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, anything else on the harm situation? All right, Borough Council comments. We'll start over here, Councilperson Ricard.
I want to thank the chief and the borough staff for their timely and important notice sent out, I believe it was Sunday, yeah? Sunday on the 6th at Locust, shots fired incident. The borough and the police department do everything they can to keep the residents informed of such important incidents and occurrences and information. And we are actively seeking ways to improve our communication. We are not perfect, that is for sure. That can always be debated, but for the best and most current info on borough-related incidents and public safety incidents, please use TextMyGov. Check the Borough Facebook page and tune into Crime Watch. Thank you.
Councilperson Fisher.
Nothing from me, thanks.
Nothing.
And just a reminder, this is the last week for yard waste pickup. So next Monday, please don't put your bags out on the curb. They need to go to the Borough Farm on the second Saturday of the month.
And just a reminder that the office is closed tomorrow for Veterans Day.
Yes, the office is closed, and that includes the police department administrative office as well. for veterans.
Administrative office. They're still working.
Like the front, yeah. The police are still gonna be out there, so don't go like, and the announcement of the next meeting at 7 PM on November 14th, council will hold a regularly scheduled meeting. Could I have a motion to adjourn? I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to adjourn at 9:01 PM. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? And we're adjourned. And we don't have checks to sign, so.
No check.